Today is an introduction to Posca pens, which is what I use to create these scenes. Posca pens are bright and vibrant acrylic markers which lend themselves really well to fun, illustrative works of art. I have a video down below where I took them out and about and incorporated them into some urban sketching at a festival. But today is all about introducing you to them, showing you why they're special, what they do, but along the way producing this really fun, vibrant, illustrative artwork. So in just 2 minutes, let's try and cover exactly what Posca markers are, and then we can actually get to having fun, get to using them. So these are Posca markers or Posca pens. Now Posca is just a brand. Inside these pens is a little rattle and some acrylic paint. And with that paint you can block in areas, a little bit like you were actually painting. You can create lines of varying widths depending on your pen and also depending on how hard you press as well. So this is a 1.8 to 2.5 millimeter, and then I have various colours in 0.7 millimeter as well. And you can see that Posca pens are unfailingly bright and bold. They're pretty exciting, they're pretty in your face and pretty vibrant. Now what makes them different is that they are acrylic inside them, and acrylic has essentially 3 things which differentiates it from watercolours and gouache. Firstly, acrylic is opaque, so if we draw over other colours you see how this line stands out really bold on top. This line is on top, it covers up the previous colours, and that means that you can use white even on black, and you can create this nice new area of, well, not colour, but lack of colour. The other thing is they are waterproof. In theory, when these have dried, you can't move them. Now that's in theory. In practice, you can see this picks up a little bit of blue. Maybe that's because it's not completely drying yet, but I find in practice that actually it's not fully waterproof. And the last thing, which is hard to tell here, but you can tell in bigger areas, is that the acrylic paint dries shiny, glossy, while watercolour dries transparent and a bit matte, and gouache feels flat and very matte. And there you go, a little rundown of exactly what they are. Now in terms of how to use them, I think there's very simple ways, and we'll look into these properly in a moment. But firstly, you can use them as line making tools, and you can use them to do exactly the same you would with ink. And that is draw and hatch and create, simple illustrations, which is great. But also, as I showed here, you can use them to block in colour. So we can give this a nice bright yellow side, and you get this necessarily rather sort of illustrative look with these big bright colours. And the other thing is you can layer them. Because they are quick to dry, because they are opaque, you can draw colours on top of other colours. And it doesn't matter too much which order you draw in. However, you will find that it is a bit easier to put dark colours on top of light colours. So if I try and draw my yellow on here, you get the sense that yellow's, because it's not really thick, it's still letting a bit of that black come through. And with that, let's draw a simple, fun and interesting scene. What I'm going to do is start with a black liner, and this is going to be simple enough that if you want to follow along, you'll be able to join in. And all I'm going to do is draw the idea of some cliffs over here, coming down, and then coming across like so. So a really simple shape of some cliffs, and then a little horizon line, and then a little lighthouse. Now, anyone who's done my latest course on sketching landscapes might recognise this scene. This is done a little bit from memory. It's a scene from the Isle of Skye, but one I like to use now just to illustrate simple, effective techniques. Just like we might with ink, we can then just add in some simple texture marks, and we've kind of already got a very simple but effective sketch on the page. Now, what we've got with our Posca pens is the ability to continue our line work, but adding in interesting colours. But the colours are a little limited. So we don't have loads of browns to make realistic colours. We don't have loads of, well, we have a couple of blues, but we don't have a big variety of blues which we can blend together. And these don't blend very well either in my experience. But what we can do is create bold and vibrant illustrative images. So perhaps using simple hatching to just pick apart where we've added these little textural marks. And in the rest of the cliffs, perhaps what we want to do is something equally as simple and just do some linear hatching all the way down. So although these colours are abstract and illustrative, they're also bringing this scene to some kind of life, to some kind of sense of place. We can then use bigger pens, perhaps, to even go really brave and just block in areas of colour. Now you can see as I'm doing this that it's a little bit time consuming because we don't have a big brush, and it is also a little bit painstaking to actually get this to be, like really neat. And with a big block of vibrant colour, we're kind of probably looking for it to be as neat as possible. The other thing is, because these colours are opaque, if I go over my lines, I lose my line. But that's okay, because they're opaque, it also means I can come back and I can reaffirm these lines in a bit when we finish other aspects of our sketch. But it is worth being aware of, downsides. These aren't all just really simple and easy. There are downsides to even really fun tools like this. But with that done, as I said, we've lost some of these lines, but perhaps what I just do now is I come back and I can restate this lovely simple line, just bringing it back into focus. And there we go. So now we have this bright bold sea, we have this interesting area up here as well. We could add a few little details. Perhaps we make this lighthouse have a shining light, and that can come out. Maybe we do something quite illustrative as well. We play to the strength of these pens rather than trying to pretend they're something which they aren't. We make it fun and bold and happy. We can sort of continue with the red and yellow theme here, just maybe underlining some of these streaks of light coming out of the lighthouse. And then maybe we also want to add some highlights into the sea, some waves. And we can do that with our white, because by now that blue's already dried. These things are very quick to dry. And we can just add some nice, simple suggestions of waves into the sea. If we wanted to add a little bit more sort of shape and whatnot to that, we can come back with the blue and just, instead of having these as flat bold lines, you see how we can cut in, and now we just have this little sense of these ruffling waves, little cutting into those bold white lines. We could even if we wanted, because these things layer so effectively, add little bits of black in there to really suggest we've got these shadows, these waves coming towards us. And there we go. And maybe a little touch we can add here is just making the horizon a little bolder. And now we can kind of try something silly with the sky as well and just bring down our hatching, but now using this really bold pen. Again, just going, you know what, this is always going to feel a bit abstract because these colours are so bright and bold, they're so illustrative, they're so sort of flat, but we can play into that. I'm trying to leave a bit of space in my hatching because that might allow us to suggest within this image that there's like a cloud or some kind of cloud-like feature creeping in. And there we are. And having done those really bold lines in the sky, we can decide, maybe, you know what, some bold lines to outline these cliffs wouldn't go amiss. And then even we can make this lighthouse black and white, stripy, and bring into it something else, something new, maybe a little bit of light blue, Yeah, there you go, a little bit of fun into our scene. And I seem to somehow have popped a little bit of something there. Why not fill in our cloud space with something totally abstract? We can have some bolder hatching of green. And there you go, a really silly little funky, fun kind of sketch suggesting ourselves a lighthouse, playing into what these pens are, which are bright, bold and illustrative. We can add little textures with our big pen as well on top of all that flat hatching. And what I'd suggest, if you enjoyed this as a really simple art project, I've got a link down below which is to a video where I took these Posca pens out and about for the day and I use them in different ways, mixing them with gouache or on their own to produce really fun sketches. And that is probably your next step in your Posca pen journey.